Welcome to the Confidently Balance Your Hormones podcast. My name is Davidson, and I'm a hormone health expert, master mindset coach, and multiple wellness business entrepreneur. I'm obsessed with helping you experience hormone balance, confidence, self-love, and live a life full of joy. I know we're about to have so much fun together, so thank you so much for pushing play today. And now let's begin. Welcome to another episode of Confidently Balance Your Hormones. This is your guide, Dee Davidson, board certified functional health practitioner, and your guide on this journey of discovering how to feel your absolute best. Today, I'm excited to introduce you to my client, Sharon. Sharon actually found me online because she wanted to take a deeper look into her state of health preventatively. What I love about Sharon's story is that she was already a very healthy woman. She eats clean, she works out regularly, she lives a lifestyle that supports long-term vitality and longevity. Sharon's commitment to her health is truly inspiring, and I'm so grateful she was open to exploring functional lab testing as another layer of understanding her body and looking at her vital voids. Today, she's here to share her experience with all of you. So thank you, Sharon, for joining me and being open to share your story with our audience.
Thanks for having me.
Let's just start with what made you curious about your health. You felt great when I looked at your metabolic scorecard. It's not like you had all of these red flags going off. Many of the women who come to me, they're not sleeping well, or they're having trouble with weight, things like that. That you were not that person. So you were already living a very healthy lifestyle. Why invest in the functional lab testing?
Well, like you said, fortunately, I feel good. I was feeling good. I exercise regularly. I didn't have any issues. I don't take any medication. But over the last couple of years, I guess, just, different things I've been reading about functional medicine, thought it was very interesting. And last January, I was at a CE program, and I specifically took all courses that were revolving around menopausal women, functional medicine, and just, looking closer at just your overall health, not to assume that just because you feel okay means you are okay. Because like we all know, eventually even people who have issues, it becomes your norm how you feel. So I didn't want to assume that I was okay in that respect. So I figured, I wanted to just really see where I stood health-wise. Did I have issues that I was unaware of? Because like you always say, don't guess, test.
That's right.
Right. So I figured let's test and see what's going on.
Very wise to do so. I talk about the traditional model of medicine. And for those of you who are new to listening, I'm not anti-doctor. I believe that we do need doctors in the world. And, if you're in a car accident or you're having a heart attack, please don't come find me, right? Go right to the ER. But the thing with our system in the United States specifically is that we look to treat disease, right? When the body's already in dis-ease, as opposed to functional medicine looking at trends and looking at patterns that might lead you down the path of disease so that you can work more on a preventative basis to clean things up. I talk about two sides of the equation. One is vital voids. We all need certain minerals and vitamins and digestive enzymes and stomach acid. So if we don't have those optimally, we're not going to be absorbing protein from the great protein sources that you're having on a daily basis. You're not going to have the clarity. You might have brain fog. You might be gaining weight. If your liver is not detoxing properly because you don't have the right things there. Those could be vital voids. And we do test to see, do you have all of the components to successfully prevent disease and feel your best? And then on the other side of the equation are things that don't belong in your body. So we look at heavy metals, mold toxicity. Not in everyone. It depends on what the symptoms are and what people's goals are. There's no cookie cutter program. A lot of times people come through my website and they're like, how much is your program? And Sharon will tell you, this is not cookie cutter. It's not like everybody get on the app. And of course, I have some self-discovery programs on there, but if you're looking at functional lab testing, everyone is very different. So we may look at these things. We may look at just toxins in general. Do you have a lot of plastics in your body? Do you have environmental toxins in your body? I just had a woman yesterday. She told me she used to live in New Hampshire, and it was a very, like bedrock area. And she had very high levels of uranium, and she knew exactly that it was probably in her water because she wasn't filtering her water at that time, and her water was tested high in uranium. So we look at all the things you need. Do you have those? And on the other side of the equation, we look at what doesn't belong in your body and what's slowing things down and stressing your body up so that we can clean that up. With that being said, let's talk about what started to shift once we you started working together. So you did your labs. Typically, people will order their labs. That takes, 4 to 6 weeks because the kits arrive in your home. Most of them you don't have to go to a lab for. You usually can do a stool test, urine test, saliva test, things like that at home. Sometimes we do send you to the lab if you need blood work. But in any case, it takes 4 to 6 weeks to get that whole process done. And I like to say that no matter what the labs say, we always have to do the work, right, Sharon?
That's right. You
We have
do.
to take personal responsibility, which is the non-sexy stuff that no one likes to do. People just want to know, what the workout is and what supplement to take. But at the end of the day, it's the little things you're going to hear from Sharon that actually make the most impact on our health and longevity. And so when we work together, we order the labs and start the process, but we start right away. And the first thing we work on is diet, not putting you on a diet. And we're not doing the yo-yo thing. We're not a fad diet culture here at CLY. What we're doing is finding out what the best foods are for you. Are you eating appropriately for whatever's going on in your life? And so with Sharon, as I started to say in the beginning, she was already eating fairly clean, and I will give her a green star on that because that is the truth. Some people come and think that they're eating healthy, but they're truly not. Sharon was not one of those people. So around nutrition, blood sugar stabilization, all of that stuff, what might have shifted since we started work together?
So for me, just doing that whole metabolic test, and finding out where I was, because for me, eating a lot of protein was always a challenge. So after doing that test, it came out that I was a slow oxidizer, meaning I need less protein than someone
Mhm.
who's a fast oxidizer. So that kind of fit with how I like to eat anyway. So one of the things that shifted for me though is the whole morning protein shift. I mean, I really, usually I would get up, I would have a cup of coffee. I probably wouldn't eat until 10:30, 11-ish, if even then,
Mhm.
depending on when my workout was. So now I know I shouldn't have coffee without protein. So that's shifted. I feel like I'm actually eating more now than I was
Mhm.
before. Not significantly, but I just feel like I'm eating more because I'm just eating differently. But with that being said, the ironic thing is I've actually lost 6 pounds. Just not.
Woo! And you didn't even need to. That wasn't even a goal. If you
No, I
see the
wasn't
video,
trying
Sharon's
to.
pretty fit.
Yeah, I wasn't trying to, but I don't know. And so I'm thinking, was it because of what we're doing for my gut health? Like, is there just something else that's going on in my body? Maybe just less inflammation. I don't know. I'm not sure. I'll be interested to see what the retest shows when we retest my gut
Sure.
and all of that. So yeah. So I mean, that was very interesting as far as the protein and just trying to figure out how I can incorporate the appropriate amount of protein with each meal. And for me, it's definitely challenging still. I'm if I eat breakfast, I'm usually not super hungry at lunch. I'm good at breakfast now and I'm good at dinner. Lunchtime is still a challenge for me. So I'm just trying to do some things like we've talked about, some of
Hmm.
the better, protein replacement meals, some of the like kachava shake, that type of thing. I try not to do it too often, but I do rely on that sometimes because I know I need to have something, but I'm not hungry
Hmm.
to eat
Hmm.
food.
Hmm.
So yeah, I mean, I definitely still have challenges. I mean, I have never been on medication, so consistency in taking my supplements has been a challenge. I have to leave them where I see them, or else out of sight, out of mind, because it's just not something that I'm used to doing.
Hmm.
So yeah, I mean, I have challenges too, for sure.
Sure. With the diet piece, there were a couple of things there, Sharon, that you said that were really important. Number one is coffee on an empty stomach. That is something that I also did not only in the morning, but sometimes in the afternoon. And caffeine in general will spike your cortisol, and cortisol gets a bad rap. But we are doing things sometimes unintentionally that make cortisol go. And I hear all of the midlife women complaining to me about cortisol belly or puffy cortisol face being swollen. And so that's a really great point that you share there. In addition to the metabolic typing test, which I'll drop the link if anyone's interested, it's an online test. It's an intuitive test, and people will ask me, how does it know? But you're hearing from Sharon. She already sort of knew that she had a hard time with eating a lot of protein with how she felt, and that the test validated her feelings around that. Same thing for me. I was eating more protein than I needed to, and it takes the guessing out of it. And how does it know? It asks you a lot of questions. You can't mess up the test. People get really nervous that they might answer something incorrectly, when in fact it double cross triples checks everything, so that if you did answer one a little off, it's going to pick it up somewhere else on a different question. And it's like one of those disc tests or the Enneagram, one of those personality tests that at work a lot of us have taken. And then you're like, wow, how does this test know me? Well, we're complicated, but not that complicated. We're, uh, different but the same. So the metabolic typing test is a really great investment, and it's like around $100. It's a great deal. And once you take it once, you don't need to take it again. You just take it online. It is who you are and how you're built, and it's based on your nervous system. It's long-winded. If you want to get more information, just shoot me a message. But basically, you take it online and it spits out what I call a food Bible, so that you don't have to guess what proteins are the best. It will tell you, is it red meats? Is it white fish? Is it whatever it is? And then it will tell you what fruits are best, which vegetables, which fats. And then it teaches you how to put together what I call a magic plate, so that like, all right, we're not counting calories or macros. Sometimes they do have you count protein grams, because every woman I work with is under eating protein, no matter what metabolic type they are. But you should be able to look at your plate and intuitively know, like, all right, 50% of this is vegetables, and that's my metabolic type. And for me, that was just a godsend, because I was so sick of obsessing over what to eat and was I eating the right things. I don't know if you felt that way, Sharon, but it was
Yeah.
like, all right, I know what to eat.
Right. Yeah. No, it does make it easier.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah.
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 So, that being said, I have everyone who is confused about nutrition and wants to verify that they're eating the right things take that test, because it's inexpensive and it's a one-time deal. So that's wonderful that you were able to gain clarity on that. How about in perspective to rest? And when I talk about rest, it could be sleep. I don't know, Sharon, what's changed with your bedtime routine, but a lot of people think of like going to bed on time. Humans are wired to uh, most of us are wired to optimally function. If you go to bed at 10 p.m. and get up at 6, that's ideal. I know some of you might be laughing like, yeah, that's funny. Or some of my clients work overnight shifts, but ideally, that's how we're wired. But this goes beyond, right?
Hmm.
Sharon, this goes beyond a bedtime. It goes into what changed the last hour before you go to bed,
Hmm.
and then maybe what kind of nervous system regulation techniques have you done throughout the day to rest, to help your nervous system rest? Anything
Right.
change with that?
Yeah. I know you and I had a conversation. It was just, I think the way we are every day. I mean, I'm a total multitasker. I try to multitask all the time, which it's just who I am. And then probably 2 months ago, I was really anxious. I felt super, super anxious. I was actually aware of it. And it was because I was trying to do two or three things at the same time. I think I mentioned to you, I mean, even when I'm waiting for my coffee in the morning, I'm putting dishes away. I'm always doing something. It's like I can't even just sit for 30 seconds and wait for my coffee to be done. So I've tried to be mindful of that and just kind of focus on one task at a time. And now when I'm aware of it, when I start to feel anxious, and then I realize I'm kind of falling back into these old habits. But so it's definitely a work in progress. I mean, I definitely still multitask, but I'm trying to be much more aware of that during the
Hmm.
day, so that I'm not so anxious, because I'm creating anxiety that I don't need. I mean, even to the point where like I'll do things and then I'm racing around trying to get dressed to go to the gym. So
Hmm.
now I try to do that first. I try to get dressed so I'm already ready to go. That way, regardless of what I get involved in, I'm not rushing and stressing myself out before I'm going to work out, which I'm doing to de-stress.
That's right. It's a
So
counterproductive.
right. So yeah, those types of things, just being more aware of what I'm doing, I
Hmm.
guess. Yeah. So that was definitely a shift for me because I always prided myself on the fact that I could multitask, you
Oh
know,
yeah, we love to do that as women, most of us. We think we're so
right,
good at it.
right.
And what happens is we get stuck in that fight or flight. So we
Hmm.
have two parts to our nervous system. We have parasympathetic, which is rest and digest, and then we have sympathetic, which is fight or flight. And if we are driving and eating a sandwich, or making coffee and checking emails and emptying the dishwasher, our nervous system is going nuts because it's like
Hmm.
I don't know what the priority is here, and we get stuck in this fight or flight. And then when we eat our food, we don't absorb the nutrition as
Hmm.
easily. Our digestion might slow down, our bowel movements might slow down, anxiety, panic, all of those things because we're just overloading the system. And
Hmm.
those are little things that can make a big difference on your overall health. Stress plays such a big role in overall health. What did you learn about managing stress differently overall?
I guess it for me too. Like now I'm not working. I'm not working my full-time career anymore. I've retired from that. So just that in and of itself has eliminated probably 75% of the stress in my life. So, but like everyone else, there's always something else to fill that space. So I've just been really committed to time for myself, like my workouts. I don't let things interfere with my workouts anymore like I used to. I would always put everything else before that. And if I had time, then I would do my workout, but I've stopped doing that. I've been doing that for about 2 years now. I just refuse to let anything interfere with unless it's, I mean, there's always going to be exceptions to the rule if it's an emergency or something. But in general, I don't let
Sure.
things that can take place later interfere with my workouts because that's my time.
Hmm.
I look at that hour every day or 4 times a week. That's my
Hmm.
time. So that was a big shift for me.
Hmm.
And then when I do go work out, I do not have my phone with me. I leave my phone in the car. I'm probably the only person in the gym. Everybody's on their phone before they even go in for their workout. So I usually use that 10, 15 minutes that I get there. I just kind of don't really think about anything. I'm just thinking about my workout. Sometimes I'm stretching. I just kind of focus my attention on why I'm there. So,
I love that. I love that.
mhm,
It makes a big difference. And I'm hearing an overlapping theme from the nervous system
mhm,
regulation to managing stress of reconnecting with our body. And you probably don't remember because I know it was 6 months back, but when we started working together on the discovery session, I typically tell every person that comes through the line that my number one goal is for people to become connected with their body again as a compass of how their health is doing, how they're feeling. Do they need to eat more? Do they need
mhm,
to move? Or maybe they don't need to move today. Because we have, as human beings, we've become so disconnected from ourselves because there are so many outside influences. We have access to all of these
mhm,
influencers without any credibility, right? On online saying you're in menopause, do this, and then your trainer might say, no, no,
right.
no, you got to do this kind of exercise, and then your doctor tells you something else. But I do believe that we have the capability to go within and really know and be connected based on our intuition. And I I know that I've witnessed you coming back to self, which is a beautiful thing.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm probably most committed at this point in my life to my workouts and all. I mean, I've always worked out my whole life. So for that
Uh-huh.
part, I mean, it wasn't like I had to start up again. I mean, I've always done some type of physical activity, but I feel like I've really committed to that over the last year and a half, 2 years, where like now it's almost like me taking a shower. It's just
Yeah,
part of
it's who you are.
right. It's just part of who I am. So and I love it too. Like where I am right now, I love where I go. I love what I
That's
do.
great.
You know,
Makes a huge
yeah,
difference.
yeah, yep.
Makes
And
a
I
huge.
and I think it's just having self confidence too. To like, I mean, most of the people in the class are very young. I obviously
Mhm.
cannot do what they're doing, which I don't want to anymore anyway. So I think it's just realizing that, realize where you are in your life, what you want to get out of that workout, not what somebody else
Mhm.
wants you to get out of that workout. So
That's right.
yeah, and I've had that
And
conversation with the trainers. Yeah, because they're always asking like what do you want to like? What's your next goal? Like how much more weight do you want to lift? How much faster do you want to run? Like it's always these. It's always got to be better than it was last week or last month. And I finally had the conversation and said, I'm looking to maintain. I want to stay healthy. I don't want to get injured. I don't necessarily care if I'm running faster or lifting heavier.
Mhm.
I want to challenge myself, but I don't want to injure myself. So
Mhm.
that's where I am in my in my workout goals.
And I think that's a great place to be, Sharon, because if more people were in tune with what their body needed and they were more flexible around that instead of rigid, they would feel so much better.
Right. And I joke because I've said it too. My main goal is to always be able to get up off the floor if I fall down. So
Yeah.
that's my
Yes.
goal.
That's a
So,
good goal.
right.
That's a good goal for
No,
sure.
because I mean, it sounds funny, but I mean, I have people my age that if they fall on the ground, they can't get up.
Oh, for sure. Even much younger. I
I
mean,
know.
I work with these people, Sharon, and trust me, even to bend over to tie their shoe or something, their back's going out
Right.
and that is the thing too. Even when we talk about this functional lab testing, it's not about I'm already sick. It's about being able to do those things in the future. I'm meeting a friend of mine who's in her 80s. I met her at the Y when my kids were little. I used to go to the Y every day. Some people who have been following me might know this, but the Y was a life saver for me because they had the child watch for 2 hours. I'd do my class for an hour and then I'd do work on my computer for an hour. And my kids have always seen that I make my health a priority. But
Right.
this lovely woman, Doreen, I'm meeting her for lunch actually Thursday. I met her at the Y. And so then she was probably, my oldest is 15. So and she's in her 80s. So maybe like, 70 or something like that, right? I'm
Mhm.
going to guess she was. But cutest thing. And what was she doing? She wasn't on the treadmill just walking, nothing against some cardio. She was working out. She had a partner, a gentleman that she worked out. They were just friends around the same age. He was a retired phys ed teacher and he would help her. She's happily married and all that, but they had this common goal and they would do the weights and I'd watch her and I was just really inspired. And again, this was 15 years ago. So I was not even in my 40s then.
Mhm.
And I'm like, Doreen, I want to be you. But that's what it's about. And when I get together with her for lunch this week, she just inspires me and fills my cup because she's not doing it because she went and she found out she had high cholesterol.
Mhm.
She's doing it so she doesn't get the high cholesterol, right?
Right.
So that she can move. She's got like 20 grandchildren and it's just like awesome. And her
Mhm.
husband Ralph, he's very healthy as well. And it's just that's why we do it. We don't
Yep.
do it because we're already sick. And
Right.
functional labs can really be a blessing. And when people, this, when people come on that session to review the lab results with me, I say, you're going to either love me,
Mhm.
right? You'll either love me after this or you're going to be really mad at me, right? But I think it's a blessing that you got the opportunity to know this stuff before it developed into disease. Don't you
Right.
agree?
Absolutely. Yeah, because if there are things that you can change or do so that you don't get to the point where you need to have a doctor step in or be on medication. Like for me, medication, I know people need medication, but for me personally, when I think about that, like I always wonder why people want to go on medication and don't want to do something to try to avoid the
Oh, so
medication.
it's just easier,
I
right?
know, but
It's just the quick fixes. People like, oh, give me the quick fix. And there's no quick fix. We
right.
know one medication leads to the next.
Right. So yeah, so that is another goal of mine is to never be on medication. I just don't I want to try to find a way that I can fix it myself.
That's
So
wonderful.
yeah. So and that was part of the reason why I did this too, because I didn't want to be assuming I was okay and then have this thing in the background that's then going to sabotage everything that I've been trying to do to stay healthy. So
Yes, no one likes that kind of surprise.
right.
So when you look back at your lab results, I know
Hmm.
that you got the back, quite a few months back now.
Hmm.
But what were some of the most surprising or valuable things you did discover?
For me, it was the gut test result, that I ended up identifying a parasite that I had, which I would never in a million years have suspected because I felt fine. I feel fine. I've never had gut issues. I've never had digestive issues. I've never had any issues at all with anything. So
Sure.
that was a total shocker. Total. Yep.
Hmm. That is a common thing. that many people have and they have no idea. And parasites can really wreak havoc and drive your cortisol up so that your body is stuck in fight or flight. Even if you are doing all the meditation in the world and eating healthy and doing
Mhm.
all these other things, your body knows that parasite doesn't belong there and it's trying to clean it up all day long. So it's important to see things like that on the gut test, whether it be opportunistic bacterial overgrowths, parasites, worms, right? Silent viruses and stuff like that. I describe it as having your cell phone open with, 100 different tabs and you haven't closed them out. Your system starts to run slower and slower
Right.
and, causes inflammation and things like that. So it is a good idea to see what is going on in the body. What would you say to someone who is on the fence about investing in the functional lab testing or working with me in a program?
Yeah, I mean, I look at it like the expense is the expense, but if you think about, well, what if I don't do anything and then I have to take medication, or if I have to keep going to the doctor, that's so much more expensive in the long run than just investing in getting the information so that you can do what you need to do to fix yourself. So it's small dollars if you really look at it. I mean, if people just look at what they spend on getting their hair colored, getting their nails done, going every day to get a coffee, we spend a lot of money on stuff that does absolutely no real good for us other than, it gives us some pleasure, but most people can find a way to afford paying for the test. And it's really an investment in yourself, which to me personally is the best way to invest your money.
There is some real truth there, sister. Hey, I see people at the actually you'll laugh. The memories on Facebook, I look at them every day now because I like
Mhm.
to see my kids when they were just little babies.
I
I'm like, oh my
know,
gosh.
right?
But I showed Michael over the weekend, one of my posts last week, it was 15 years ago.
Mhm.
It said, best time of year, Dunkin' Donuts fall flavors are out. Can you imagine, Sharon, that this
Right.
is the same person that you're working
I
with right now?
know. Right.
So for people to look at me too and think like, oh, she's got a perfect health and
Mhm.
she eats all organic and I used to get mocked when my kids went to play dates. Oh, are they allowed to eat this? As the person
Right.
chuckles. Yeah, it is a journey and
Mhm.
I think, again, we spend money on the things we spent. I used to go to Dunkin' Donuts probably every day, and
Mhm.
I did look forward to that
Yeah.
pumpkin spice or whatever it was. So if you're at the drive-through or buying lunch out or going out to fancy dinners, nothing against having some fun and enjoying life, but you can certainly find the investment in yourself, like Sharon said. And also, I partner with a company who offers 15 months interest free. Kind of like when you go out and buy a couch, I always like using other people's money. Why not? And,
Right.
extending it. There's always a way if you're really interested and you're intrigued by the functional lab testing or you're already in a state of disease and you get feeling gaslit at the doctors, reach out. I'm sure there's a way that we can figure out a way for you to be able to afford the testing. You can use flexible spending accounts if you have
Mhm.
those through your insurance program. There's always a way for the willing, I say. And I want to thank you, Sharon, for coming on today. This was super valuable. I know
Thank
you've
you.
inspired some people, and I truly appreciate you taking the time to come on today.
Well, you're very welcome. It's been a pleasure, and you and I are still working together. So
Yes,
to be
to
continued.
be continued for sure. And
Correct.
you
And
make my job easy, Sharon. So thank you. I love working with the willing.
yeah, and the other thing I just wanted to say for people who are listening out there, I am not perfect. I still cheat and eat stuff that I shouldn't eat. For me, it's about a balance. I mean, I don't want to deprive myself of things, but I try to live by the adage, it's not what you do some of the time, it's what you do most of the time. So if most of the time you're treating your body right, you can indulge every so often and have the things that you enjoy having that aren't necessarily the best for you. It's not gonna derail what you're doing. So, I
Thanks for saying that.
yeah.
And as a practitioner, I would echo that. I had ice cream this summer and I don't really eat dairy. I do have dessert when I go out to eat most of the times. Is it gluten-free? Yes, because I know that I have a gluten intolerance.
Mm-hmm.
But we're not going for perfection. We're going for flexibility. And it is the things that matter the most are the small choices that you make every day.
Right.
Are you getting your steps in? Are you drinking enough water? Are you eating home cooked meals most of the time.
Hmm.
It's the small things that really matter. We don't focus on perfection here,
Right.
and we don't want to make life uh,
Restrictive.
yeah, restrictive, not
Right.
fun, right? Like,
Right.
not that there are some clients of mine who don't eat any treats, and that's okay if
Right.
that's they're okay with that. I'm not. I want to have an ice cream here and there, right?
Right.
But you don't. It's not an all or nothing, I think, is what we're trying to say, right, Sharon? It's
Exactly.
all or nothing.
It's a
It
balance.
is.
Yeah. For me, it's
That's right.
definitely a balance. Yeah. So
What a great way to end the show. Thank you again.
thank you, Dee.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of Confidently Balancing Your Hormones. If you enjoyed today's episode, I'd love for you to share it with a friend and also hit follow at the top of this podcast. If you have a couple of minutes and you can leave a quick review, it will help other women in need find this podcast. You can find me on Instagram at confidently_love_yourself. I would love to stay connected and hear from you.